Today we will be using adding and subtracting of fractions to solve some word problems. And so let's take a look at our first problem. It asks us to evaluate. So remember, when we evaluate, we're substituting first. They're going to give us the value of the unknown. We're going to put that in place of the unknown in the expression we're given. So I'm putting the 2 7/8 in place of the x, and as I do that, I'm going to rewrite the problem as 3 1/6, and I'm adding 2 7/8. Now I like to stack the numbers in a column format when I'm adding mixed numbers. And so I see that the denominators are not the same, so I need to come up with that common denominator. And as I look at 6 and I look at 8, I look at the factors each of them have. And so 6 has factors of 2 and 3, 8 has 2 and 4. And so I look to see what the other one needs. Like the 6 does not have a 4, so I'm going to multiply it by 4/4. The 8 does not have a 3, so I'll multiply it by 3/3. And so when I do that, now I have new fractions. I've got 3 and 4/24. And then I multiply across here, I've got 2 and 21/24. So when I go ahead and add these two numbers together, I'm getting 5 and 25/24. Now, the problem is that 25/24 is an improper fraction, so we need to change that to a mixed number. So when I go ahead and do the division, 24 goes into 25 one time with 1 left over, so it's going to be 1 and 1/24. And now I'm going to add that to the 5 that's already there. So 5 and 1, that's where I'm getting 6 and 1/24. So looking at the next problem, same sort of thing. This time we have a negative number that's going in for the x. No big deal. All we're going to rewrite is minus 5/8. So when I'm adding negatives to a positive, that's just basically subtraction. So first thing we do is come up with that common denominator. So let's take a look at 10 and 8. Look at those factors that we have. We've got 5 and 2 make 10, where only 2 and 4 make 8. So now we see that the 10 needs that 4, and the 8 needs the 5. So multiply it by 5/5, the 10 by 4/4. So we go ahead and multiply straight across. We've got new fractions here. We've got 5 and 12/40. However, they are equivalent. And the next one's negative 25/40. So when I'm adding the opposite signs, I'm really subtracting. So since I'm subtracting, I'm going to end up needing to borrow, since the 25 is smaller than or bigger than the 12. It's further from 0, that is. So I'm going to borrow from the 5, change it to a 4, and then add that 1 that I took from the 5 to this fraction. So that's why I'm adding 40/40. And so that gives me 52/40. And so now I do that subtraction. And so I still have this 4. 4 minus 0 is 4. 52 from 25 leaves me with 27. So I've got 27/40. No common factors there, so that would be our answer. Well, looking at our next one, same sort of thing. We're evaluating again, putting this 5/6 in place of the x. So now I've got 5/6, and I'm just taking away 1/4. So I come up with that common denominator. Now again, we look at the 6, look at the factors it has. It has 3 and 2, where 4 has 2 and 2. So the 6 needs that extra 2, where the 4 needs that extra 3. So multiplying by 3/3. And so now I've got 10/12, and I'm taking away 3/12. So that leaves me with 7/12 as my answer. Well, we've got a few word problems here. It talks about how Ed walked his dog 4/5 miles north, 1/10 of a mile east, 1/4 mile to south, another 3/4 mile east, and then a 1/2 mile north. And how far north of their beginning point did they stop? So let's take a look at some directions, just draw a little picture about what's going on here. So here's north, here is east, and this direction is going to end up being west. My north, and this is my south. And so let's see what they did. They went 4/5 of a mile north. So 4/5 here. And then he took off to the east. He went 1/10 of a mile. And then he went 1/4 mile south. And then he went, See, another 3/4 of a mile east, it says. And then he goes another half mile north, so go up a half mile. So all we're concerned with is the north, because it says how far north of their beginning point did he stop. See, since we're going east, we're not going up any. Since we went south, we went down. Since we went east, we just went up. We just went to the left. So all we have to do is figure out the amounts that he went just up. But we have to take into account that he did also go down some as well. So we don't need this number here, this 1/10. That doesn't matter. The 3/4, that doesn't matter either, because he's just going left or right in this case. And so all we're concerned with is the amount that he's going up or down. So how far north did he go? So let's do this. Let's take 4/5, and we need to subtract out that 1/4, because he went up 4/5. He went 4/5 miles north, then he went east, which didn't affect anything, but then he went south. South 1/4 is going to take away from the amount north that he went. So we need to come up with a common denominator. So I need to multiply this one by 4/4, this one by 5/5. Multiply across, I get 16/20 minus 5/20, and that gives me a total of 11/20. So far he's gone 11/20 miles north, but then he went another half mile north. Now since he's going north again, we need to add that. We need to add that amount to the amount that we just had. So we need to add the 11/20 and 1/2. So we need to come up with that common denominator again. So I'm going to multiply this 2 by 10, and notice how I have now 11/20 plus 10/20. And now I can add those two numbers together, and that gives me 21/20, which would change to 1 1/20 miles north. So that's how far north he went from when he began to when he stopped. So let's take a look at the next one. It says that Sue bought 4 yards of fabric and used 2 3/4 yards of it. How much did she not use? Okay, not use. So that means that she had 4 yards, but she did not use she used 2 3/4. So that means we need to take that 2 3/4 away from the amount that she started with. Now I'll need to borrow, because I have no fraction here. So I need to borrow from the 4, change it to a 3, and add 1 to the fraction. Well, since there's no fraction there, I'll just add 1 as 4/4. So now we can go ahead and do the subtraction. So 3 minus 2 gives me 1. 4/4 minus 3/4 gives me 1/4. So if 1/4 yards left. And so from this point, that's part of the answer. But then it asks another question. It says, how much more will she need to make a scarf that requires 1 2/3? Well, how much more signifies that she doesn't have enough. Now, if we didn't know, we'd just go ahead and set up the subtraction problem. And if I subtracted 1 2/3 from this amount and I got a negative number, then I would need more. If I had done the subtraction the other way, I'll end up getting a positive, and that would still signify more, because I'm taking what away from what I had to start with from what I need. So I'm going to set up the problem this way. I'm going to do 1 1/4, because that's what I have. I'm going to take away 1 2/3. And when I do that, I'm going to end up having to come up with a common denominator. So I'm going to change this to a multiply by 3/3 and multiply this one by 4/4, because this is what I started with, this is what I want. And when I go ahead and do that, I now have 1 3/12, and I have 1 8/12. Now notice I can't subtract this, so I'm going to end up having to borrow, and that's going to give me that negative number. And so I'm going to multiply this one by, or I'm going to add this one, this 12/12 to both sides, and that gives me 15/12. And so when I do the subtraction, I'm coming up with a negative number. I need, and then I go ahead and do the subtraction, I need 15 minus 8, and let's see here, it's 8/12, that's right. So that gives me 7/12. And so I need that 7/12 more in order to get that amount. Now notice that I can't do this subtraction because I have 0. I'm taking away from 1. So right away, if I didn't know that 1 1/4 was smaller, or if it was smaller than 1 2/3, then I would see right away I can't do this subtraction. So I can't set it up this way. So this answer would be wrong. So what I need to do then is switch it around. I need to put the 1 2/3 on top and the 1 1/4 on the bottom of the fraction. So I need to set it up this way when I'm doing that column subtraction. So I need to multiply this one by the 4/4, multiply this one by the 3/3, and now I've got 1 8/12, and I'm taking away 1 3/12, and that leaves me with, when I do the subtraction, 5/12. So I ended up making an error as I was starting it because I wasn't sure which one was bigger. And so when I did the subtraction, I ended up with this situation. 0 minus 1 would be -1, and that 7/12, even if I got that number, would not be correct because I can't do this subtraction. So when you're setting up mixed number subtraction in the column format, it works the same way with just integers in the column format as well. Let's take a look at one other problem here. And this one says that Ted has 3 3/4 ounces of flour in a cup, and he uses 2 5/9 to cook supper. He spills a 1/4 ounce. How much does he have left? So let's take the 3 3/4 and let's subtract the 2 5/9. So we need to come up with that common denominator. And so I'm going to multiply the 4 by 9/9 and the 9 by 4/4. So I go ahead and multiply across, and I've got a new fraction here. I've got 3 27/36, and I've got 2 20/36. So now I can go ahead and do that subtraction. That leaves me with 1 7/36. Well, that's just after he uses that, but he still spills a 1/4 ounce. So that means I need to take that 1 7/36, and a 1/4 is 1/4. So I need to take away the 1/4 from what was left over after it used that flour. So I still need to come up with another common denominator. We need to multiply the 4 by just 9 because that will make a 36. This makes 9/36. And see, now the denominators are the same. However, I've got another problem. See, the 9 is bigger than the 7. So I'm going to borrow. Now this will become 0, and I'll have to add 36/36. And that gives me 43/36. Now, I can do this subtraction because notice 0 minus 0 makes 0, so I'm not coming up with a negative number, so I'm doing it okay. And 43 minus 9 gives me 34/36. Now, there's a common factor here, so let's go ahead and take that out. Divide it by 2, and I'm left with 17/36. I'm sorry, I forgot to divide the 36 by 2, so let's go ahead and fix that real quick. And when I divide 36 by 2, I end up with 18. So there it is, 17/18 ounces, or ounce, left over. So those are the types of problems you're going to see on tonight's homework. Good luck.